This is Algebra 1, Lesson 2B. We're going to be talking about polygons. Now, the word polygon comes from Greek root words. Poly means many, and gon comes from a word that means angle. So polygons have many angles. Since it's plural, I'll say angles there. To be a polygon, it has to be a simple figure. We'll talk about that in a second. Closed, flat, and the sides are line segments. Let's start with flat. These are all flat. They're all drawn on a piece of paper, and you're looking at it on a flat screen. So the flat part, we got that covered, right? What do they mean by simple? Well, simple means that there are no lines crossing each other. So already I can see in A, that's not a polygon because these lines cross each other here. You see this line here? These are intersecting lines, like we said in the last video, and you can't have that and have a polygon. So no, it's not a polygon. And then you can see here in B, these lines are crossing each other. So that's not a polygon either. They are flat though. Okay, let's talk about what they're meaning here when they say closed. What does that mean? Well, you can kind of tell looking at C. It's like it's open here. It's like this was the door and it's swung open and we can get in here, right? It needs to be a closed figure, and this is not closed. So this is not a polygon. Now this one's closed. D's closed. It's simple. It's flat. This side is a line segment. This side's a line segment. This side's a line segment. We're looking pretty good until we get to this curve. And we can't have curves. So the sides have to be line segments. So this is not a polygon. So let's talk about what is. Let's look at some examples of polygons. Now you probably know the names of these. Look at this polygon. It has 3 sides. Yes, you know what that is. That's a triangle. And if it has 4 sides, you may be looking at it saying, well, it kind of looks like a rectangle, but not. There's something messed up about it. So we can just call it a quadrilateral. And for 5 sides, we can call it a pentagon. And for 6 sides, we can call it a hexagon. Okay, and your book gives several examples. It goes on with a 7-sided figure, which is a heptagon, and an 8-sided figure, which is an octagon. And you may be looking in your book right now and saying, that doesn't look like an octagon. You probably know a very common octagon that you may see at the end of your street, and it is a stop sign. A stop sign has 8 sides, but this octagon that they've drawn in the book, it also has 8 sides. Just a different figure. Just like you can have triangles that look different. Here's a triangle, but it doesn't look exactly the same as this one. They both have 3 sides though, right? And they give you a chart in your book that gives you some of the names: triangle, quadrilateral, pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, decagon, undecagon, and dodecagon. And then if you have more than about 12. There may be one here or there that has a special name, but we don't usually use them. So you may just call it a polygon, or you may say, like the example they gave is for a 42-sided figure. That's a lot of sides. You might just say it's a polygon with 42 sides, or a 42-gon, and you would just write it like that, 42-gon, instead of using any kind of special name. Now, the next thing it talks about with polygons, it talks about the idea of concave and convex. Okay, I bet you see a word here that you have seen, that you're familiar with. See that? Cave. All right, so I'm going to draw something. Okay, and then I'm going to draw something over here. Okay. Now, when I look at these figures, do you see that this one, if I were walking around, let's say I start here and I walk down this side and I walk down this side and then I go inside the figure sort of. I mean, I'm not in here, but it kind of goes in a little bit there. right, into itself, that is a concave figure. And so that kind of helps me remember what that means. It caves in, okay? This one does not over here. This one is convex. This one caves in. It is concave. Now, your book tells you that in this book, when they say polygon, they are meaning a convex polygon. So if the homework tells you to draw a polygon with so many sides, they're not wanting a concave polygon. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, that's going to make it simpler. They're talking about a convex polygon, and you can just know that that's what they mean when they use the term polygon. Now, another thing that you're going to learn about are different types of quadrilaterals, and we'll get to this more a few videos from now. But for right now, what you need is they're talking about equilateral, equiangular, regular, and then we're going to talk about this idea of tick marks, okay? Equilateral, you probably see something here you're used to seeing. It's pretty close to the word equal, okay? Lateral means sides, okay? So equal sides. So let's look at these pictures. A rhombus has all equal sides. And the way they would note that is they would give you some of these tick marks. This one is equal to this one, which is equal to this one, which is equal to this one. Okay? So a rhombus is equilateral. Okay? By definition, it has to be all equal sides. Okay? But a rectangle is equiangular. See the angle in there? All of its angles are equal. So let me just mark these. One way I could mark it is mark and show that they all are squares. Okay, they have square angles, 90-degree angles. Okay, and you can show that those are equal. So it's an equiangular figure. But notice, if I go back and look at the rhombus, look at this angle here. It is obtuse. It is bigger than 90 degrees. And the one opposite is also bigger than 90. I don't know what it is, but I know it's bigger than 90. So I'm going to put a little tick mark there to show that that angle is equal to this angle. Okay, we'll learn more about that later, but now you can trust me. If you look here, this angle is equal to this angle. So we draw the little arc to show we're talking about the angle. And then we draw the little tick marks to indicate which angles are equal. So we can't say the rhombus is equiangular, but we can say it's equilateral. Looking back at the rectangle, we can say it is equiangular, but it is not equilateral. We know that this side has to be equal to this side, or you couldn't make a rectangle out of it. And this side is equal to this side. So here, again, I'm using tick marks to show which parts are equal. So a rhombus is equilateral, but a rectangle is equiangular. Now let's look at the square. The square is equilateral. We all have known about squares for a long time. And all of the angles, I could mark them like this. I could say that all of these angles are equal. But we can do better than that because we actually know for a square the measurement of all those angles. We know they're 90, so let's put boxes in the corners. So we know it is equiangular. Whoops. But we also know that it is equilateral. So I'm going to highlight it with both. Now, that's something special. If you are equilateral and you are equiangular, then you are regular. So a square is considered a regular quadrilateral. Now that means that it's going to have all of its sides are equal and all of its angles are equal. And we can note that with the tick marks. Now I want to talk here for just a second, the last little bit here, about regular polygons. If you have a regular three-sided polygon, it's three-sided, so it's a triangle. And if it's regular, all of these sides are equal, then that would mean that all of its angles are equal also. So we're going to learn that a little bit more later, and you've probably learned that before in the past, so we'll review it. But just know that if it's regular, all the angles are going to be equal and all the sides are equal. Looking at the square, all the angles are 90 and all the sides are going to be equal to each other. Regular pentagon, all the sides are equal to each other, all the angles are equal to each other. Regular hexagon, all the angles are equal to each other and all the sides are equal to each other. And we'll stop there and pick up with the rest on the next video.